Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Colin Crawford.
Well, it looks like we've got a bit of a crowd this morning. It's good to see that there's just a little bit of excitement left in the Mac market. Good morning. I'm Colin Crawford. I'm the President and CEO of Mac Publishing. We're the publishers of MacWorld and Mac Week. And on behalf of the sponsors, I'd like to welcome you all to San Francisco and to MacWorld Expo 1998. Yeah, a year ago, I stated that the 7th of January 1997 would go down in history as opening another chapter of an epic company. Well, certainly one prediction I got correct. The welcome-backed, framed first issue of MacWorld presented to Steve Jobs proved to be even more prophetic than I imagined. You know, it's been a year of tremendous transition for Apple and our industry. The Mac's second decade has proved to be far more challenging, even tumultuous, than we expected. And over the last year at Apple, we've seen sweeping changes, major staffing reorganization, product shifts, and a high level of uncertainty. However, even with the challenges of the last year, tremendous things have been accomplished. And it's important that we recognize and give credit to all the success stories. And at MacWorld Expo this week, over half the exhibitors are showing exciting new cutting-edge products, particularly in the area of content creation, and products that show tighter integration between the Mac and the Internet. And last night at the Eddies, the MacWorld Editor's Choice Award ceremony, we were able to honor the products and individuals who made a significant contribution to our industry. One of the winners was an individual who's made a significant impact on the Macintosh platform, whose vision, energy, and focus has reshaped the whole computer industry. He's not only a founder of Apple Computer, but as Apple's interim CEO, is once again responsible for the future direction of an American icon. He reworked the board of directors, forged a deal with Microsoft, and gave a sense of direction to what had lately become a rudderless enterprise. Now, Steve, unfortunately, wasn't able to attend the MacWorld Award ceremony last night, but it didn't matter because I knew where to find him the next morning. So, as I have the honor of introducing Steve Jobs as the first keynote speaker at MacWorld Expo, I thought that before we hear from him on Apple's plans for the year ahead, I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of the MacWorld editors to present him with the MacWorld World Class Impact Award for Leadership. I've got it right here. So please join with me in congratulating Steve Jobs and welcoming him to MacWorld Expo 98.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing us to be here today. We've made a lot of progress in the last 6 months, and I'd like to give you some updates, tell you about some new stuff, and then we got some fun stuff to demo for you, if that's okay. So let's start off. We started thinking different about 6 months ago. And the first sign of that people could buy, we announced on November 10th, which was a very different chip, a very different store, and a very different factory. And I'd like to give you some updates on those things now. It was 51 days before the end of the quarter on November 10th when we announced it. It was 57 days ago today. And so I'd like to go through each one and tell you where we're at. First of all, for those of you who were not at November 10th, we introduced a very different chip. And of course that chip was the PowerPC G3. Developed by Motorola and IBM. The thing's a screamer. and it's just wonderful. Matter of fact, the PowerPC is in an incredibly sweet part of its life cycle now for the next few years, and the chips that are coming out, I think, are going to toast Pentiums every step of the way. So when we look at the PowerPC G3 and we compare it against Intel's fastest processor class, the Pentium 2s, they're much faster on integer performance and on floating point. As a matter of fact, on integer they're 44% faster, and on floating point they're 15% faster. This is really good. And when you actually do real-world stuff, we took, I think, approximately 16 Photoshop tasks and ran through them one by one in an automated fashion on each of the machines. And so on a Pentium 266, Pentium 2 266, this thing took over 800 seconds. On a Pentium 2 300, it took over 700 seconds. And of course, on a G3 266, it took a little over 600 seconds. So this gives you a feeling for how fast these chips are. And we built 3 systems around these chips that could really deliver the performance of the raw chip. The first one was our desktop system. Second was the mini tower, and the third was our G3 portable, which is, you know, twice as fast as the fastest Pentium portable you can buy. And so we also priced these things pretty aggressively. We still want to make a little bit of margin, but we really need to be matching the prices of the PC industry much more closely, and we've got that message. And the response has been phenomenal to these products. The review response has been great. I mean, everybody understands that these products are wickedly fast, and that's the primary message. Now, when we went into the quarter, we were forecasting that we would sell 80,000 of the combined G3 product line, and we were wrong. We were wrong. The reaction was so great that we actually shipped over 130,000 of these machines. Now, what's really also great is that we did it in a matter of 51 days in the quarter. And that was due to a lot of work by the engineering teams to make this a rock-solid product that was incredibly easy to build, and by the operations team that worked very long hours to build these products, did a fantastic job, and to the sales teams. And everybody at Apple worked really hard to make this possible, including a lot of our partners outside Apple. Now, what's really neat is if you annualize this, that's a rate of 1 million computers a year. 1 million G3s a year in our first 60 days. And that means that although it wasn't a third of our unit shipments in the last quarter, because we only shipped them for 51 days, at this rate, they've already climbed to over a third of our unit shipments in terms of an annualized rate. And I think you're going to see that continue to climb this coming quarter. So we could not be happier. I'm told that there were some problems with new product introductions from Apple in the past. And having been through a lot of new product intros myself, I can tell you that I have not seen any that have been any smoother. This went really, really well. Which brings us to a very different store. We distribute our products in a lot of ways. We're a large company. We have national resellers. We have regional resellers like Fry's and Micro Center, and CompuWare is terrific. Distributors, Ingram Microwave. And we have about 3,000 VARs. We debuted the Apple Store on November 10th. And we sell direct to education. We have about 7,000 education accounts in North America. And this type of a system is paralleled in Asia and in Europe. Now, we have been doing a very significant tune-up to this distribution channel. We went out and shopped all of the channels, and we found that in some, they were great. And in many, the buying experience couldn't be worse. It was worse than your worst nightmare. And so we went out to a lot of these folks and said, we've got to clean up the buying experience here. And we had some partners say, this is awesome, and we had some partners say, well, we have other things to do. And so we've really focused on our channel. And I want to give you 2 updates here. The first is CompUSA. CompUSA said, we want to be partners with you guys. We were with Apple in the beginning, and we know you guys are coming back. So we put together a program with CompUSA to put an Apple store within a store in each of their 140, 150 locations in the U.S. And rather than waiting a year to plan this out in the typical Apple fashion so everything would be perfect, we said, let's just go. Everything's not going to be perfect at day one. Let's build these stores. Let's get them done as fast as we can. Everybody won't be trained on day one, but we have a very significant training program going on right now. Let's go. And we built 57 of these stores already, and the rest are going to be built by February. And let me give you a tour of one right now. We've got QuickTime VR over here, if we could switch over to that. And let me drive here. So here we are. Here's the parking lot, as you can see. So we can swing around from the parking lot, and let's just go on in there. Go right on in there. Boom. And here's the inside of the store. There's the Apple store within a store in the corner, as you can see. And let me just turn around and take a look. There's the rest of the store right here. And there's the Apple store. And as you can see it very easily. So let's just wander over there. And let's go on in. And there's the Apple store within a store in CompUSA, right here. And as you can see, there's some software right here, of course, the brand advertising. We can walk on in. And here we are, and there's all these kiosks around the store. This one's for design and publishing. There's for education, etc. And again, we've just come in here for the store right here. There's the backs of the banners, as you can see. Here's some accessories here, scanners, printers, all sorts of things like that. And every single system we make is displayed here. And you can see, as you can see up above, see all these boxes up there, all the Apple boxes, and you can see this wall of software right here. So let's go back and see the systems right now. Here's all the portables that we make. And you swing around, you can see here's the CPUs. And here is that wall of software. It's terrific, actually. Let's go ahead and just walk a little closer. You can see System 8 and a bunch of other software here. A bunch of boxes up there. Again, all of the branding. And that gives you an idea for the store. So, it looks really great. How's it working? In October, before any of these stores went live, our sales of CPUs, the ratio of Mac CPU sales to the total CompUSA CPU sales was 3%. We were 3% of their CPU sales. We got 57 stores installed. In those 57 stores, in the month of December, we were 14% of their CPU sales. And the rest of the stores will be in by the end of February, and we're just beginning. And this represents a tremendous opportunity for our software partners, software developers as well, to get their software back in these stores. We could not be happier with how this is going. Another thing we couldn't be happier about is the Apple Store. The Apple Store debuted on November 10th. As you know, we have a good, better, best paradigm in the store, and you can completely customize the products any way you want them. We have hundreds of configurations for our G3 products, as you see here. And of course, you can buy over the store and you can have stuff shipped to you. And what's really great about this is not only have we set a new standard out there for sophistication and simplicity for online commerce, but the Apple Store has become one of the top-selling e-commerce sites on the web in its first 30 days, and even beyond that, we are getting millions of hits a day, and people are using this as the ultimate online configurator to figure out what they want to buy, and then some are buying it on the store, and most are going back out to the dealers and the resellers out there to buy their products, which is great too. So we could not be happier about this. And Build to Order. Build to Order was designed to give our customers a lot more choice. So they didn't have to buy what they didn't need, and so they could configure their systems exactly as they wanted to. It was also designed to dramatically simplify inventory at the dealers and the distributors and at Apple, and to provide instant availability of new components and configurations, so we don't have to wait a few months to see these things slowly move through the channel to the end customer. And everybody told us Apple can never, ever execute this. And you know what? It all worked. It worked great. We took thousands of orders. We shipped thousands of systems on time and it's worked like a champ. And I think our operations team has done a phenomenal job on this. Everything we do in the future is moving in this direction. It is a fundamental paradigm shift, not just for these products, but for our company, and we intend to continue to offer more and more choice. Our resellers and our education customers will be buying from us this way as well by the end of this current quarter. Think different. We needed to get back on the air. When I got to Apple, there were over a dozen different ad campaigns running, none of them funded enough to get any visibility, all of them having some conflicting messages with many others. It was crazy. We unified it down to one campaign, Think Different, and I think it really was great because what it communicated was what we care about. And I think a lot of people got a chance to see it, especially in our major metropolitan markets. And you'll see a lot more advertising from us this quarter. We do not intend to stop. One of the most wonderful forms of flattery is imitation. And we got copied a lot right away. And we got copied 2 times in particular that I wanted to show you today. One was Think Dharma. Did you ever see that one? I don't watch television much, so I didn't see it, but people brought the video and showed it to me. It was terrific. And the other was Think Funny. Have you seen this one? No? I'd like to show you these. I'd like to show you Think Different and Think Dharma and Think Funny if you have a minute, okay? So let's go ahead and roll those.
Here's to the crazy ones. The misfits. The rebels. The troublemakers. The round pegs in the square holes. The ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them. Because they change things. They push the human race forward. And while some may see them as the crazy ones, we see genius. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can change the world are the ones who do.
Here's to the fun one, the misfit, the beauty, the long legs and the short dress. You can quote her, disagree with her, but most of all, you'll love her. And while some people may see her as silly, we see genius. Because the people who think they're funny enough to change television are the ones who do.
Here's to the funny ones, the knuckleheads, the class clowns of this world. Sure, you can chuckle, chortle, even guffaw at them. Their spit takes and one-liners push Monday nights forward. Because the people who are crazy enough to think they can make you laugh are the ones who do.
So in 51 days, we've made it into the popular culture with this. I'd also like to thank our ad agency, Chiat Day, for helping us capture the spirit of Apple on this commission. So now, we've got a few things to announce today in terms of new products. I'd like to go through them with you. The first is, we're not stopping after 51 days with our G3 products. We've got some new Pro add-ins to announce today, and you'll see continuing add-ins every few months to these products. So, these are available off our website, Build to Order, starting today. And they are available in a reseller configuration starting today. The first one is, on the networking side, a 100 megabit Ethernet card for $100. The second is on the hard drive side. In addition to the IDE drives you can get, a 4 gigabyte ultra-wide SCSI drive and a 9 gigabyte ultra-wide SCSI drive, both available today. And the last one is a 128-bit Pro graphics card with 8 megabytes of video memory, again available today. Okay, next is Mac OS 8.1. we have been putting a lot of energy into getting our software team onto regular releases, and they've done a phenomenal job. System 8 has been a giant win for us. We've sold almost 3 million copies, and the response has been very, very strong on System 8. We have 8.1 to announce today. 8.1 fixes a zillion bugs, of course, and adds some significant performance. Some of the apps actually launch up to 30% faster on System 8.1, so there's some pretty nice stuff in there. Secondly, an enhancement to our HFS file system called HFS Plus, which basically is designed to be optimized for much larger disk drives. It actually gives you a lot of disk space back of the files you have currently stored under HFS when you store them with HFS Plus, and it's a much higher performance on large disk drives. Third, to use digital video disks, you need a new file system that supports the Universal Data Format, or UDF. No operating systems have this built in at this time, and macOS 8.1 is the first in the world to have it built in. Apple's performance on Java, we love Java, and Apple's performance on Java has not been best of breed. We have a great team working on that stuff now inside Apple, and we are working very closely with Sun, we're working very closely with Microsoft, and we are getting better. And so 8.1 ships with a new Java runtime and JDK 1.13. So we will continue to improve these things, continue to get new Java releases out on the website, and I hope the next time that we meet, we can say that we are second to no one in Java performance. And lastly, Internet Explorer ships as the default browser on 8.1. Ooh. You can switch it back to Navigator if you'd like. But many people happen to prefer Explorer, and we think it's a very good browser. 8.1 is free for all Mac OS 8 owners, and it is official release date is in February, and we'll have it on new systems in February, but there are rumors that it might even be on the website before then. So 8.1. Team has done a fantastic job. Thank you. Next is QuickTime 3.0. We have narrowed down the things we are focusing on technically so that we can really put a lot of energy behind each one. I still get hate mail about canceling OpenDoc. And we have canceled a lot of things. And the results of that start to show as we deliver on the things that we think really matter. And QuickTime is one of them. It is one of the pillars of what we do. And it is the standard for multimedia on computers in the world, and we intend to keep pushing that standard forward. So today we've already announced QuickTime 3.0. We're kind of formally announcing it today. We'll show you exactly what it is. One of the best ways to look at something is to contrast it against something else. And one of the good things about QuickTime is we haven't had any competitors. Microsoft has chosen not to compete with it, indeed anyway. And so finally someone's coming along saying, hey, we kind of want to compete with QuickTime a little bit, and that's great, and that's Real Networks, and we think that's very healthy. So I'd like to use them to compare and contrast some of the really cool things about QuickTime 3.0, if you don't mind. So let's see how they stack up. The first thing is QuickTime's legacy, and the thing it leads the world in by far, is doing very high quality video in software or with hardware assist. And we call that CD video, the very high quality of video you get on CD-ROMs. It is unparalleled for that. In addition to that, several professional video solutions like Media 100 and Avid are using QuickTime for their pro video products, Macromedia, Adobe, and others. And QuickTime, again, is unparalleled and has no competitors in this area. But one area where Real Networks has really, really done well is streaming over the internet. And this has been what has distinguished these products up until now. Well, I'm very pleased to announce today that QuickTime 3.0 has streaming. And what is so great about it is you don't have to do anything special. It's just QuickTime, and it just streams. In addition, QuickTime 3.0 is adding the digital video format. This is the format that is in the new digital camcorders out of Sony. It's you know the FireWire jack on these camcorders, right? That's what comes out of the FireWire jack, the DV format, and it goes right into QuickTime. In addition, QuickTime VR, as you just saw, nobody else has got anything like it, and with the VR authoring studio out there now, it's trivial to author VR environments like the one you just saw. And again, all this stuff streams over the internet. In music, Real Audio has some great music stuff. So do we now. We have put in a new codec, which is tremendous on music. As a matter of fact, we think the audio quality is better than Real Networks or anything else out there. Voice. Rather than using a proprietary voice codec, we have licensed Qualcomm's Pure Voice codec. Now, Qualcomm, as you know, is the developer of CDMA portable wireless phones. This is what is used in the new digital phones, and it is a phenomenally good compression standard. In addition, it's very important to, when you're streaming things, to stream them over low data rate modems. And we actually go as low as 14.4 or whatever it is, up to 56 kilobits per second. And we are using, rather than a proprietary scheme, the new video conferencing standard H.263, again in QuickTime. And lastly, on the server side, rather than asking you to go out and buy a proprietary, really expensive server, QuickTime just runs off any HTTP server when you want to stream it. One of the other things that I really want to mention today is on the video side, we've been working with a company called Sorensen Video. And they have developed a new codec technology, which is in QuickTime 3.0, called the Apple Sorensen codec. And we think it is terrific, and finally now we can say Cinepack is over. The Sorensen codec is tremendous. And matter of fact, the Sorensen folks are here today, Mr. Sorensen himself, and I really want to thank you guys. You've been terrific to work with. So, now we've got a great new version of QuickTime. We got 100 engineers working on this stuff. We can't continue to be a philanthropy about this. We've got to find a way to make some money. So we've been figuring out what are we going to do to make a little money off this so we can do even more development than we have. QuickTime started off as a single basic version on the Mac. We then added Windows. Now, QuickTime 3.0 makes a major leap on Windows. It's exactly the same code base as Mac, and it runs on Windows much better than in the past. It runs as well as on a Mac. We've added a Pro version. And what we've done is we've segmented these versions so that the authoring features are on the Pro version and some other features that are very nice are on the Pro version. And we are going to continue to give the basic version away for free, and we are going to sell the Pro version for $29.99 off our website. And if enough of you folks decide to buy the Pro version, we'll have even more money to extend QuickTime to QuickTime 4 and do some even more remarkable things, and we'd really appreciate it. So we've got ourselves an industry standard here. We intend to keep pushing it forward, multi-platform, and taking us into this new world of digital video and digital media in general. Now, to demo this, I'd like to welcome up on stage Peter Hodde. He's our senior QuickTime architect, and he's going to give us a little run-through of QuickTime 3.0. Peter?
Thanks, Steve. Good morning. I'm going to be joined on stage this morning by Jim Batson. Jim was one of the founding members of the QuickTime team, along with myself and a few friends. Jim and I and a few of our friends back about 6 or 7 years ago put together QuickTime 1.0, and with your support it's been a phenomenal success. And what we're going to do is show you now some of the stuff we've done with QuickTime 3.0. Of course, QuickTime 1.0 was all about video, and it had, for the time, phenomenal video. We've moved that video forward with Cinepack. That was the industry standard for 5 years. We thought it was time for something new. We went out, we looked at what different people in the industry were doing. We came up with Sorensen as having the best solution. We've worked very closely with them to integrate their technology in QuickTime. We think Sorensen Video and the new Apple Sorensen codec is going to be the new standard for digital video on computers. And rather than talk about it, what I want to do is just show it to you. So we're going to bring the house lights down. So I think you can see we've taken things forward just a little bit. The thing that's pretty exciting about this, in addition to the amazing quality, it's just like watching TV, is that some of these new video technologies, you need like the greatest, new, most amazing computer. We've worked with the folks at Sorensen, so this will work on any PowerPC. You'll be able to get great quality video on the computer you have now. So we think that's really important. So Steve talked about the fact that we've got a lock on the CD-ROM market for multimedia. We see how we're going to extend that, and he talked about streaming. Now, obviously, streaming video isn't quite over 28.8 modem yet. Going to be full screen, beautiful, full motion. But we think we've got something that looks and sounds better than what anybody else has done. So we're going to bring this up now and explore. We've actually got a live connection over the web. We're going to go out. This is we've got a 56K modem in the box. So what we're going to do is bring up this video, and you're going to watch. Jim just clicked. You see the QuickTime logo for a minute as it brings down a little bit of information at the beginning. We got that first frame of video, and it starts playing immediately. No delays, real time on a 28.8 modem. Great audio quality, great video quality. This is a modem that everyone has today. You're going to have a 56K modem sometime this year, and it's going to look twice as good as this, twice as big. It's going to be awesome. So let's move forward to the next piece, which is to talk about DV. Right now, you may not have a DV camera. DV is this new standard that Sony and a number of the manufacturers are producing. But as I look down here, I can see nothing but DV cameras. They produce fantastic quality video, better quality video than 2 years ago you could get in a $20,000 camera. And in the next year, we think the price point is going to hit $1,000. You're all going to have one. So we want to show you, we're built into QuickTime DV support so that we'll be ready when you get that camera. I want to show you how good this video looks. One of the guys on our team just took a DV camera home and literally took some video of his kid. So let's just show you that and show you how great this looks. This is professional quality video. QuickTime has a software-only decompressor built in. So we're playing 30 frames per second, quarter screen, professional quality video. And you're going to get this. This capability, this amazing video is going to come built into QuickTime 3.0, but QuickTime has authoring capabilities, so maybe we have another piece of footage and we'd like to edit this in. Usually video editing is hard. You've got to go buy some expensive app. $29.99, the QuickTime Pro product, will get you this basic QuickTime editor. All Jim has done is selected one video. Now this is video editing, the way it should be. Drag and drop. Okay, let's go over, and now we don't have to do anything. Let's just rewind it and play it, and you'll see it plays absolutely seamlessly over that edit. What other company is going to give you, what other company is going to give you professional video editing, awesome quality, $29.99? Now, the problem with DV is, of course, that it's a big file. It's actually like 3.5 megabytes a second of data that we're pumping through that thing. So you can't, you can't show this, give this to your friends very easily. So what we do is we use the Sorensen technology that we were just talking about, and we can compress this down to a size that would fit comfortably on a CD-ROM or on a zip drive, for example. So this is now compressed down to about 60 bytes a second, and let's just play it so you can see. This is outstanding image quality. You almost can't tell the difference between this and the high-quality Sorensen, and the high-quality DV. So this capability to generate this is built in, but you're still not going to give this, you can't send this video to the child's grandmother in an email. You can't put it on a website. It's still too big. So we go the next step. We compress it down to a streaming QuickTime format. 28.8 modem rate. Let's just show you what that ends up looking like. Starts up almost immediately. Still good image quality. All the audio's there. No delays. So we've got the whole solution from the professional, high-end, great content DV all the way through to web delivery and CD-ROM. All of it in one product. We're the only people doing that. So Steve showed you the Apple Store within a store, and one of the things that we've done in QuickTime 3.0 is to add streaming capability to our VR technology. We thought VR was a great technology for the internet because it's really just an interactive picture, and the web is covered with pictures. So what better technology to fit? So let's just go, click on this. We go out to a site on, a member's site on AOL, actually. You may have one yourself. And so it takes a moment. These internet demos are always a little risky. Wait while this searches for it. So you see here again, it's found it. It brings up the QuickTime logo to let you know something's coming. Yeah, that's spinning beach ball. So we'll give this a moment. So now it's got the VR controller, and in a moment what you'll see is a low-resolution version of the image. And so pretty quickly, not quite as fast as I would have liked this morning, but pretty quickly, you have a low-res black and white version. And as we wait, the color high-res version comes down. So immediately, or close to immediately, you get to see what the scene looks like. You can start panning around and looking at it and even making links from it. And then as you wait, the great stuff arrives, and it just automatically updates. It's almost like the Wizard of Oz, you know. I kind of leave Kansas and I go to Oz, and it's just beautiful. And we've got, it's a web technology, so of course it's got to do streaming, but the other thing it has to do is URL links. So as Jim's panning over these different things, you'll see at the very bottom, it says learn about Mac OS 8, or learn about the 6500 CPUs here. And Jim actually has now clicked on, we'll click on one of the links. And what this will do, again, after the internet does its thing, is just link us directly to the Apple website. So you can put links into your VR scenes. So all this stuff plays in the internet really tightly together. So we've talked about the video capabilities of QuickTime. We've talked about streaming in CD-ROM. What we haven't talked about is the audio capabilities. And so what I want to do now is show you what we're able to do with streaming audio in QuickTime 3.0. We've actually worked with a company called QDesign to include some of their technology in QuickTime 3.0. It's a new technology. It's not anything that anyone's seen before or heard before, not based on the same stuff everyone else is using. What I'd like to do first is play for you basically the worst quality that this thing has, 14.4 modem rate, streaming 14.4 modem rate of a clip. And let's just play that for a minute so you can hear it. So, you know, I don't know those of you who spend too much time listening to, you know, other streaming technologies, but you are not going to find that degree of clarity anywhere else. Now, you know, modems are getting faster. 56K is just around the corner for most people. So what we wanted to do is put together for you an example of what we can do at that bit rate using QuickTime streaming with this new technology. And we'll play this for a little bit more. I want you to really listen for it. We think it's almost as good as a CD. I think you can hear, as you listen for the brass fanfares, you can hear all the detail in the brass. As you listen for the strings, you'll actually, you can hear, feel like you can hear the bows going across the strings. It's beautiful. So let's go and just play that.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Ending audio quality. We've run this by, I just invite people randomly into my office all the time, and I play them all the different audio technologies that are out there. They always pick this one, always. It's just a step ahead of what everyone else is doing. So not only do we have the best video, we got the best audio, We've got a great streaming story. We have the whole authoring story. We've got everything you need to do great multimedia wherever you want to do it, built into QuickTime. We're going to keep moving this stuff forward. We're thrilled to have Steve and to be working with him to do this stuff. We're thrilled to have partners like Sorensen, who we can work with to really bring the best technology into this. And I thank you for your attention this morning.
Thank you, Peter. It's great to have the best people, isn't it? Okay. So QuickTime 3.0. And what's next? What's next is we have been putting a ton of energy, not just into our own software, but into our developers. And I think that we have not been doing a good enough job on that in the past, and that has been changed. We're spending a lot of time with our developers, trying to understand what they want out of this business equation, what we want out of this business equation, and finding a way to make it work for all of us. Because the reason, what I found, I've talked to dozens of these developers myself, the reasons that they've been frustrated are primarily business reasons: distribution, marketing, no attention, no early technology releases, those basic things, and we're fixing all of that. And over 50 software products are being introduced here at MacWorld. And what I'd like to do now is take the next 20 minutes and highlight 4 of them. The first one I'd like to highlight is from Microsoft. When we did the Microsoft deal 6 months ago at MacWorld in Boston, I heard a few boos in the audience, which I thought was crazy. Microsoft is a phenomenally good software developer of applications. How many of you don't use Office? And we had some problems. The version of Office on the Mac was not exactly state-of-the-art. And we struck our relationship, and you know what? In this industry of flash-in-the-pan partnerships, this has turned out totally different. Because today, Apple and Microsoft are delivering 4 new products based on this partnership. And we've got a lot of other projects going on. The relationship's blossomed very, very nicely. And Microsoft has and is out to continue to have a very healthy applications business on the Mac. We like that. So, rather than come out with a version of Office that's been on Windows for a year or 2, the hundreds of developers dedicated to the Mac at Microsoft have been working day and night to create Office 98, a version of Office that leapfrogs over anything you can get on Windows and puts the Mac out in front. We couldn't be happier about this, and it's my pleasure to invite Ben Waldman, the General Manager of the Macintosh Business Unit for Microsoft, up on stage to demo this product. We've seen it. We think it's terrific. Ben? Great. Thank you.
Last summer, when Apple and Microsoft announced our partnership agreement at MacWorld, we at Microsoft talked a lot about our commitment to Apple, to the Macintosh platform, and to our over 8.5 million Macintosh customers. Well, today, we're very happy to be delivering on that commitment with Microsoft Office 98 Macintosh Edition and Microsoft Internet Explorer 4.0. Steve's talked a lot about thinking different at Apple, but at Microsoft, we've been thinking different as well. Very different. Over the past year, we've had over 200 people working day and night creating great software for the Macintosh from the ground up. We have more people working on Macintosh software today at Microsoft than we've ever had before. And we think that with a group this size, we might just very well be the largest Macintosh software team in the world, outside of Apple. We've also been spending a lot of time speaking with our customers. We understand that Macintosh users are different, with different needs and different expectations. Finally, we understand that. We not only understand that, we appreciate that, and we revel in that. So for the past year, we've been speaking to our customers in the enterprise, in small business, in the home, in publishing, in education, to try to understand what their needs were and what they wanted to see out of our Microsoft Macintosh software. And we've made a list, a long list. And our goal was to go through every single item one by one and make sure to address every single issue that our Macintosh customers had. Office 98 is not a port of a Windows product. It is a Macintosh product from the ground up. And, as Steve mentioned, you'll see quite a few new features appearing first and appearing only in the Macintosh version of Microsoft Office. Why don't we take a look? With Office, we've been thinking different from the beginning. When you first put your CD into your CD-ROM drive, you'll see a window coming up. It won't say beta when you get it, but this one says beta. To install Office on your hard disk, you just pick up the Office folder from the CD and drag it to your hard disk. And that's it. There's no setup program, no install program. You know, we thought that when you go to a store and buy software, you just want to use it. You don't want to sit and answer a bunch of questions that you probably don't even know the answers to. Macintosh software used to work this way about 10 years ago, and I guess we all forgot. But at Microsoft, we want to bring this ease of use back to the Macintosh. Drag and drop install is only available in the Macintosh version of Microsoft Office. Another thing we learned about our Macintosh users is that they want to know every file that's on their hard disk. They don't want these random files appearing there, and if they don't know what they are, they'll take them and they'll throw them in the trash. The problem, though, is if you throw away a shared library for any Macintosh application, that application won't launch. And if you do that with a DLL under Windows, you'll get some cryptic error message and that application won't launch. Well, with Office 98, that's not a problem. Let's take a look at the extensions folder. I don't know what all these files are, this Olay crap. Let's just throw it in the trash. Now let's empty the trash to show you we're not fooling. Did we just empty the trash? Okay, now let's launch Word 98. What's going to happen is Word's going to notice that some files it needs are missing, and it's going to automatically put them back using a compressed hidden copy of those files. We call this technique self-repairing applications, and again, it's only available in the Macintosh version of Microsoft Office. You can also rename your hard disk, rename your folders, move them around, and everything still works because it's a Macintosh. That only works in the Macintosh version of Microsoft Office. At Microsoft, we love Mac OS 8. We think Mac OS 8 is great. Has anybody here not upgraded to Mac OS 8? Well, I don't know what you're waiting for because you should go and buy it and then get 8.1 for free. But we think it's very important to support Mac OS 8. So we'll support all the Mac OS 8 visuals. The tabs and the dialog boxes look just like Mac OS 8, not like Windows. Our checkboxes look just like Mac OS 8. Every control, even the shade of gray we use in the dialogues, just like Mac OS 8. Or where we put the OK and cancel buttons, the way a Macintosh application should look, not like a Windows application. We'll support contextual menus throughout Microsoft Office 98. Everywhere you control-click inside of Office, you'll get a contextual menu appropriate to the task you want to accomplish. I said earlier that we made a list of all the things our Macintosh customers wanted. One of the things that really pissed people off is that we got rid of the font menu inside of Word 6. Well, you were right, we were wrong, and we put it back. Not only did we put it back, we've made it better. Because it's now a WYSIWYG font menu, and it shows you exactly what the font is going to look like. Only in the Macintosh version of Microsoft Office. We also put back the work menu, which people liked. We also wanted to make sure that Word 98 was a great upgrade for Word 5.1 users. So if you like the Word 5.1 interface, fine, you got it. You just pick Word 5.1 menus, you get the Word 5.1 menus, toolbar, ribbon, ruler. Even every command key equivalent is exactly the same as Word 5.1. Another thing we thought was very important to do was to support QuickTime VR and QuickTime 3.0. So every Office application supports QuickTime VR, and you can see a QuickTime VR panorama or video, or QuickTime 3.0. All the stuff Peter showed you will work in Microsoft Office. We also want to make sure to support Macintosh drag and drop, so we do that inside of all the Office applications. So if our first goal with Office was to create a great Macintosh product, our second goal was to create a product which was easy to use and where all the functionality was easy to discover, to really leverage the promise of PowerPC and G3. Office 98 is not about creating some high-end features that only 1% of our customers are going to use. We spent over 80% of our effort working on tasks that every single user will do every single day. And we can do that because Office 98 watches you work, learns from you, and adapts to work just for you. For example, suppose I was writing a letter to my friend Steve Jobs. I'll type, "Dear Steve," the new Office Assistant will pop up and tell us that there's a great new feature in Word called the Letter Wizard, and it can help you get a letter written faster, more quickly, more efficiently. It'll tell me all about the letter, and then I can write the letter. And then when I'm done with the letter, it'll tell me that Word can also now help me make an envelope or make a mailing label, features you might not have known that Word had. In this case, the assistant's given us new information and helped us all about, It's also pretty fun. By the way, this Macintosh Office Assistant is only available in the Macintosh version of Microsoft Office. Hate to be boring and redundant, but it's kind of fun. So we also want to make the assistant a place where you can always go for help whenever you have a question. For example, suppose we're printing, when we bring up the print dialog, and we're kind of confused, so we cancel. Well, if I click up on the assistant for help, because we've been watching you work, we'll automatically suggest that you might want help on printing a document. So we'll offer you help on printing a document. Sometimes, of course, though we try to guess, we may be wrong. We admit that at Microsoft now. And so we'll let you type in a question in your own words, in plain English. For example, how do I make a web page? When I type that in, the assistant will tell me how I can create a web page. Again, this natural language technology is the first time we're delivering technology like this on the Macintosh. Because we have natural language technology built throughout Microsoft Office, we can also help you correct spelling mistakes or grammar mistakes right as you type them, right as you make those mistakes. For example, whenever I have a grammatical mistake, Word will underline the mistake with a green squiggly. And then by bringing up a context menu, a Mac OS 8 context menu, I can correct the grammatical error. A spelling error has a red squiggly, and I can bring up a context menu and correct that. Also, only in the Macintosh version of Microsoft Office, we have a new feature called Quick Thesaurus. If you bring up a context menu on a non-misspelled word, we'll give you a list of synonyms, and you can automatically change that word to another word that you'd like. How many of you use tables in Microsoft Word? Well, we thought tables were too hard to use, and we thought we could do better. We thought, what if you could just take a pencil and just draw out your table and kind of make the lines just exactly where you wanted them to be? Wouldn't that be easier than the old way? Well, that's exactly what we did. Nobody could figure out how to merge cells. It was too hard. So we thought, what if you could just take an eraser and erase the lines in between the cells? Wouldn't that be easier? Wouldn't that be better? What if you could type text and rotate the text and have it work just like you wanted it to work? Well, we do that inside of Microsoft Office, inside of Microsoft Word 98 as well. So that's Microsoft Word, and there's actually a lot more, but I'm going to jump over to Microsoft Excel right now and show you some of the improvements we've made there. People have been entering formulas inside of spreadsheets for about 20 years now, ever since we first had spreadsheets, and we thought they were too hard too, and we thought we could do better. For example, if I have a spreadsheet where I'm looking at costs over sales, and I want to understand what costs over sales are, like in this spreadsheet, why do I have to type equals B3 over C3? Why can't I just type equals cost over sales and have my spreadsheet, my computer, my Macintosh, my PowerPC figure out what I want to do? Well, in Excel 98, we do just that. Type cost over sales, and it works just fine. And then I can move that formula throughout the rest of my spreadsheet using autofill inside of Microsoft Excel with our natural language technology inside of Office. Another thing we found people had problems with was, well, people sometimes made mistakes in spreadsheets. And when you make a mistake, it's really hard to find out where the mistakes are. So we added a new feature called the Range Finder, where we'll associate every range inside of a formula with a color-coded box. And in order to fix the mistake, we can just resize that box or move it over, and the formula gets automatically updated. New inside of Microsoft Excel 98. Another thing our users wanted us to do was have more richer formatting inside of Microsoft Excel. So just by bringing up a contextual menu, I can now rotate text inside of Excel to any angle I want with a graphical control. Another thing that really upset users was that they could never figure out how to indent text. They'd go and add these really, really skinny columns or type a whole bunch of spaces. We thought that that was just, we did a bad job. We thought, why don't we just take the indent control from Microsoft Word and stick it inside of Microsoft Excel? So we did that. Things were a lot easier, we think, than ever before. We watched people print documents, and every time people printed out a long document, the page breaks were never where they wanted them to be. We thought we could do better. So we added Page Break Preview, where we'll show you your page breaks, and where you can just pick them up and drag them and drop them, and put them exactly where you want them to be. Our third goal with Microsoft Office was to integrate communication and collaboration directly into the product so that we could eliminate artificial distinctions between productivity work and internet work and let you use the tools that you've been using for the past decade to work with others on an intranet or to create content for the internet. For example, suppose I'm working on a budget. We want to have many people work on it at the same time. With Excel 98, any number of users, whether they're working on Macintosh or on Windows, can work on the same spreadsheet at the exact same time. Now, after people do that, you might wonder, what has everybody changed? So just by picking the Highlight Changes command inside of Excel, we'll show you with color-coded boxes who has changed what cell, when they changed it, what they changed it from, and what they changed it to. I hope that blue text in the upper left of the spreadsheet with an underline is familiar to most of you, because that's a hyperlink. We support hyperlinks now inside of all of Microsoft Office applications. So you can hyperlink between Office applications and HTML files, all inside of Microsoft Office. And then you can navigate back and forth using the web toolbar inside of all of Microsoft Office applications. We'll also support Save as HTML from all the Office applications, so you can create your content inside of Word, Excel, or PowerPoint and save it as HTML and put it right on your website just like that with no additional work required. Finally, I'd like to show you the latest addition to the Microsoft Office family, Microsoft Outlook Express. Microsoft Outlook Express is our new Internet standards-based email client. We support, well, every Internet standard out there, POP, SMTP, POP3, SMTP, IMAP, LDAP, and most importantly, we'll support HTML inside of Outlook Express so you can put web pages directly inside your email messages and have all the richness of a web page inside of your email messages. We also have a contact list inside of Outlook Express, so you can keep track of your contacts, their names, their addresses, their email addresses, their web pages. And best of all, this contact list is integrated with Microsoft Word. So if I do a mail merge from Microsoft Word, I can use my contact list from Outlook Express. Outlook Express is also integrated with a spell checker in Microsoft Word. So as I'm typing my email messages, and if I make a spelling mistake, we'll see the same red squiggly line appear inside of my email messages and be able to correct that with a context menu, just like in Microsoft Word. We also have quite a few features available only in the Macintosh version of Outlook Express. For example, I can switch users without even exiting my email program or even rebooting my Macintosh, which we think is great for a family where everyone has a separate email account. And again, that's only available in the Macintosh version of Outlook Express. So I've shown you, well, actually, I've kind of just like skimmed the surface today with all of the features inside of Microsoft Office 98 and Outlook Express. If you'd like to see more, I encourage you to come to our booth, the Microsoft booth, or go to the Apple booth, where Apple's also demonstrating Microsoft Office 98 and Internet Explorer. And we're also giving away free copies of Internet Explorer 4.0 and Outlook Express on the Microsoft CD, which we're giving away for free at the Microsoft booth. Finally, I just want to promise you that this is just the beginning of Macintosh software at Microsoft, the new way we do Macintosh software. We promise we will be continuing to develop great software for the Macintosh, built for the Macintosh from the ground up for our Macintosh customers. And we're really looking forward to doing that and delivering you great products and working with Apple to do that. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Ben, and to the whole Microsoft team. I've heard a few boos turn to yahoos out there.
We're starting to see two phrases come back to the Macintosh software market: first on Macintosh and only on Macintosh. Now, Macintosh has always been the preferred solution for users. But we have a lot of customers who have to manage enterprises, be they corporate or academic enterprises. And they need industrial strength applications in finance to human resources to be able to do that. And we have today, we're today announcing that we have partnered with Oracle to do this. And Oracle is bringing their, I think, 40 enterprise applications to the Mac. Everything they've got. Larry Ellison, the CEO and chairman of Oracle, is on Apple's board of directors, as you know. We have a very close working relationship with Oracle. And to demo some of these applications right now is John Wookey, VP of Financial Applications of Oracle.
Thanks, Steve. Thank you. Good morning. I'd like to thank Steve and thanks folks at Apple for including Oracle applications in this enormous event. Oracle's a pretty well-known company to most people in the audience, but primarily as a technology company, as a database company. What's less well-known is the fact that Oracle is a very large supplier of what are called enterprise applications products. These are the financial accounting products and manufacturing products that run a lot of the companies that we all work for. Now, Oracle Applications is actually a billion-dollar company within Oracle. We're the second largest provider of enterprise applications in the world. We've got something like 5,000 customers working in about 70 countries around the world on our applications. Now, ERP systems, like all other components of the software industry, have evolved rapidly over the last 5 or 6 years. And 5 or 6 years ago, what everybody ran were character-based products running on something like a host terminal configuration. At that time, what evolved was something called client-server computing. Client-server computing, for the first time, started leveraging the capabilities of the desktop for these ERP systems. And what they really were trying to leverage was the great graphical user interface and the great access to information that those systems enjoyed. One of the interesting things about client-server products is when everyone started building them, they had an idea that they'd build them for many different client platforms. So they started off building a system that they thought they could deploy to Windows, to Macs, to workstations and X terminals running Motif. Now the reality was that didn't happen. It was much more complex to deliver these applications in a client-server model than anyone thought. And so guess which ones got dropped? Guess which clients we ended up deploying on? Obviously it was Windows. It was just a sort of a market-sized decision. So everybody in the ERP space basically delivered applications, these client-server products that only ran in a Windows environment. Now, it turned out there were some other problems with these client-server applications. They were a lot more expensive than people thought. They didn't have quite the performance that people had hoped for. And in the end, it turned out that deploying these very complex enterprise systems into a client-server model was extremely difficult, extremely complex, and much more expensive than people thought. Well, a couple years ago, kind of a strange guy came up with a new idea, something that Oracle we started calling network computing. The idea that changing the model of computing really was something that was important. And from an applications perspective, what was important to understand was we want to keep the capabilities of client-server computing that were good, the user interface, the access to information. We wanted to keep those things. But we wanted to address some of the other problems that had come up in client-server computing. One of the most important ones we wanted to be sure we addressed was support for a heterogeneous client environment. We want to be able to start delivering applications that work in a Windows environment, in a workstation environment, and absolutely in a Mac environment. And that's what we started doing a couple of years ago. And we started building a series of applications that we called web-deployed applications. David Flexo, who's joined me here on stage from our fabulous event support group, is going to show a few applications here. On the very right, you see basically a number of the applications shown: general ledger, AR, fixed assets, a bunch of accounting applications. As Steve said, about 40 enterprise applications that we can now support in this model. If you bring up the GL application real quickly. And this is a journal entry product. Okay, this is the product they use for enter manual journal entries. And I promised the people at Apple I would not start demoing accounting products at this conference. And I'll keep my promise. But this is basically a simple Java applet that's running on a Macintosh, right? This is the same enterprise applications that you know, a couple years ago, if you're running, you had to run client-server, meaning you had to go out and buy a Windows desktop to run these applications. You can now run these on a Macintosh, and that's what's important. And as I said, there's 40 of these applications representing every business function, from finance to manufacturing to human resources payroll to Salesforce automation. Now, given that no one wants to see me enter a manual journal entry, I thought I would demo very quickly something else, something that may be more easy for everybody to grasp, because it's a very common business function that everybody wants to see, and it's something called an employee expense system. Now, this is actually a new category of application that we developed starting a couple years ago, called self-service applications. What we were trying to do was change the model for some of the business functions that people had. Rather than having your accounting department enter all your requisitions and your expenses, why not let employees do that directly? And that's what we've done, and start building a series of applications called self-service. So let's go ahead and enter an expense for MacWorld in this case. Very simple screen. Okay. We'll start entering receipts for it. And as you can see up on the right, there's a little icon that has a wizard function that, again, these are occasional users, so you have to be able to guide them through the process, and the wizard function will actually do that for you. It can take you step by step through the entire process. Also understand that this entire application is customizable, so any enterprise can actually change how it looks to their operation. It's also a multi-currency system. It supports all the different tax processing. It's a multilingual application, so you can install this on a central server in Brussels and have you know, your employees across Europe actually access it in their own language. So let's go ahead and enter a few expenses. We probably all came here on a plane. Go ahead, you click on the calendar, which shows you the date, the expense type, which is the air. Looks like we flew in Southwest. Okay, new receipt. Go ahead and enter some nice accommodation here in San Francisco. Well, maybe not in San Francisco, okay. New receipt. And we probably ate a meal yesterday or today, so click down a little meal icon. There you go. And say we ate at McDonald's, so it's a Happy Meal. Great. We can look at our receipts now. You can go through all your receipts and look at them again. The idea here is very simple to use. You can remove receipts if you like, go to the expense summary. And this is probably what most people look like. This is what your normal paper form looks like that you submit. So now when you finish this, you go ahead and you can submit it off to your boss. And through workflow rules that Oracle's built, that you customize for your own enterprise, you can now route it to your supervisor, then automatically goes in your accounting function, and so on and so on. And this is all running on a Mac. And just for a change today, we actually decided to run this under Netscape. Thank you, David. So the message here is very short, very simple. In the past, enterprise application decisions meant we dictated the desktop. In the future, that's no longer true. This new deployment model, and we have a new version coming out, a new major functional version coming out in the second quarter of this year called Release 11, it will support Windows, it will support workstations, and will absolutely support Macintoshes. Thank you very much. Have a great MacWorld.
Thank you, John, and thank you, Oracle. We're working very closely with Oracle to bring these apps out, we hope in April, and we think they're going to be pretty strong. And again, you get all the other benefits of working with a Macintosh, which basically, you know. Next up, you know, more websites are created on Macs than any other computer. And there's a reason for that, because that's where all the incredibly cool tools are, and the best versions of those tools. And Apple wants to stay in this position. And so we've been working with some of our key developers to help them bring some of their very advanced products on the web to market. And we are thrilled today to be able to have Macromedia demo their new visual web creation product, Dreamweaver. We think this is a breakthrough product in terms of creating the visual websites, and we are working with them, going to be helping them co-market this product, and we think it's really terrific. So I'd like to welcome Kevin Lynch from Macromedia up on stage now.
Great. Thank you, Steve. We're really happy to be here today to show Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver is the most practical, most powerful web authoring tool in the world. And when we were designing Dreamweaver, we talked to a lot of web authors who largely are on the Macintosh, as Steve says. And we learned that one of the biggest issues with current web authoring tools was that they mess up your HTML. So if you go back and edit it, it's very confusing. So we've worked really hard on that, and Dreamweaver doesn't hose your code. So it leaves your HTML stuff exactly as you wrote it. So I'll take a look here, at using Dreamweaver, and we've blended visual HTML source editing with both visual mode and a text mode. And you can use them simultaneously. We have here a page from the White House, and I copied this off the White House site. This is their actual page. We put some stuff in layers here. And when you're editing a page in Dreamweaver, you can edit things visually, but you can also show an HTML inspector here. And as you're editing things in a visual mode, you can see it tracks live in the HTML. Even as you're making edits, you can type in this top-level thing here, it's like this, and it will update in the HTML as you're typing character by character. So you can watch the quality of the HTML that's being generated by Dreamweaver, and if you'd like to change it, you can just click into this inspector window here and type directly in the HTML yourself. Now, sometimes you'd like to make a lot of changes to HTML, and you'll notice here that we have in the HTML inspector a button that's labeled BBEdit. And I can press this button, and it will actually launch BBEdit with the HTML that I'm currently editing. So we've actually included a full copy of BBEdit with Dreamweaver. So when you purchase Dreamweaver, we've got a partnership with Bare Bones, and you get a copy of BBEdit. And you can edit things here in BBEdit. For example, I can make this a larger font size. And I'll close that here. So I'm able to go back and forth between BBEdit source editing and Dreamweaver, and I can just pick Dreamweaver here. I don't have to even save the document. They know how to talk to each other, and it will send the update automatically and create the larger font size inside of Dreamweaver. So this allows you to do really great designs with the productivity of a visual tool and still retain the control over the HTML that you need. So in addition to the HTML editing we've seen here, we also have support for some powerful features, including dynamic HTML. Dynamic HTML is a new technology built into the 4.0 web browsers. And you can do things with dynamic HTML, such as position items anywhere you like on the page. So now I can actually drag and drop things anywhere I like and set the position to pixel-level accuracy on my web pages. In addition to dragging them around, you can also, because this is a Macromedia product, we've built in a timeline. And so you can do animations on your web pages now. And it's as easy as dragging an item from your page onto a timeline, drop it right there, and I've just added it to my timeline. And if I'd like that flag to fly, say, over the White House, all I have to do is drag it to the right side and drop it. And what will happen is it will create the starting and end points for my animation. And I can preview that inside of Dreamweaver live like this. If I'd say like it to curve a little bit, I can drag it over to the top here. It'll create a smooth curve for me. So now I've done some animation in HTML. Now you might want to look at this inside of a browser. We've got a keyboard shortcut here that'll preview your web page in any browser that you choose. We're running IE4 here. And it will load the page and automatically do the motion that we've built with dynamic HTML. So now it's possible to use a visual editing tool to create dynamic HTML without needing to write any of the JavaScript yourself. This is all pure HTML and JavaScript underneath. And it works across browsers. Dynamic HTML is different in both Netscape and Internet Explorer, but we've written dynamic HTML in a way that a single file will work in both browsers seamlessly. So in addition to the single page editing that we've been looking at here in Dreamweaver, we also support site-wide editing. And with Dreamweaver, you can do things, for example, like repeating headers and footers or navigation bars. And we've got a library palette here that lets you build a collection of items you might want to use across your whole site. And to add them to your site, it's easy as dragging them onto the bottom of the page and drop them onto your page like this. And I've just added this to my page. Now I've got some other documents on my site here. For example, the briefing room page. And you can see at the bottom of this page, we also have that same footer at the bottom of the page. So later, say I wanted to update my footers. Let's imagine like Apple was to acquire the White House. So we might want to update the footers in that case. And I can do that very easily just by double-clicking on this element in the palette. And it opens up the repeating element in its own window. And I can select an item here, and I can change its image. I'll make it be the Apple logo. Now when I close this window, it'll ask me if I'd like to go and update my entire site. You can see the palette here has been updated, but these pages still need to be updated. I'll say yes. Now we can go through thousands of pages in your site and automatically update all of the footers across all of your pages. So we can see here, it's updated the icons. So with Dreamweaver, it's possible to do visual editing in a high-level view like this, and HTML source editing with a full control and no loss of fidelity, as well as site-wide changes like these headers and footers and navigation bar changes. Dreamweaver is available now at MacWorld if you'd like to purchase it. You can come by the Macromedia booth, and it's $2.99 through February. And we're also announcing today at MacWorld that we're shipping Freehand 8. And Freehand 8 supports vector-based transparencies that also can print, which is a first on the Macintosh. And we'd love you to come by and take a look at that as well. Appreciate your time. This is Dreamweaver.
Thank you, Kevin, and thanks to all the team at Macromedia. They've given us an incredibly warm welcome, and we are interacting with them quite a lot and really, really enjoying it. Lastly, today, Ribbon. You know, I guess some of the prior management didn't like games. Because I heard this from so many developers that they got no support from Apple on games. And the current management team really likes games. So we are dedicated to get some great games back on the Mac. And we are working on that very hard, and I think we're starting to see some great results. And it's my great pleasure today to welcome Rand Miller on stage, the creator of Ribbon.
Thank you. I got to start this off by telling you guys I feel a little out of place here for a couple reasons. First off, I usually sit home in Spokane, Washington in the snow with my family, and I don't speak to like groups of 10 million people. So if you guys will just consider this like a chat, it'll kind of help me. The naked thing doesn't work for me, so just, you know, just have a little chat for me. The other reason I feel a little out of place is because the people who preceded me, Microsoft and Oracle and Macromedia, Apple, there's a lot of productivity software in there, and in case you don't know what we do, it's stuff to waste time. So actually, the way I figure it is, with all the time you'll save using the other products that have just been introduced, you get my picture there? It's actually pretty appropriate that I'm here, aside from the fact that I don't usually do this, because, well, let me start a little Ribbon walkthrough, and I'll explain why. I'm also a Mac fanatic. We use Macs at the office. Apple has provided the tools that we need to basically build our worlds. They've been the enabling technology from the beginning that we've used. With things like the Mac itself, things like HyperCard and even CD-ROM stuff, QuickTime. Those things have been the tools that enabled us to build worlds. Now that Apple has announced support for DVD, we've got additional tools to build our worlds even better. I'm tempted to stand right in the middle and like raise my hands at that part. I don't get to play it on this big of a screen usually. Now those of you who have played Ribbon will notice something really intriguing right here. No nasty dialog box comes up telling you to swap CDs, because this is the DVD version of Ribbon. That's the first obvious advantage we have with this new tools that Apple's providing us with. Ribbon comes on 5 CDs. How many of you used to think that CDs had a lot of storage space on them? Now we can fit those 5 CDs onto one DVD-ROM. obviously giving us a nice advantage there. Riven is basically graphics and sound and animation movement. Those are things that Apple has always led the way with. The Mac has always been there doing those things better. DVD at this point serves those things up just a little bit faster. Excuse my pregnant pauses here. I just like to watch. Actually, Riven does a better job of talking than I do, I think. Let me just say at this point, the pictures go into some of the ways we use Macs. I know a lot of you have heard that we used SGI workstations for the images, and we did. We modeled and rendered the images on SGI workstations. What you may not know is that every artist had next to his SGI workstation a Macintosh at Cyan. It was an integral tool. In fact, the textures that you see here, whether it's the dirt, the trees, the beetle climbing up the fence post, the wood, the gates, those were all manipulated on a Mac before going over to the SGIs. And they were post-processed on the Mac as well. All the compositing, all the retouching, all that stuff was done on the Macs. In fact, I think sometimes the artists couldn't wait to get onto the SGI and back off the SGI. That whole Unix thing kind of confused them. The sounds that you hear were all sampled on the Mac. They were compiled on the Mac. The music that Robin wrote in many of the locations, he had two Macs, one monitor that had either the visual or the movies, and another one hooked to the MIDI workstation to actually compose on the keyboards. And of course, what we do without QuickTime. All the motion, whether it's from that beetle that was walking up the wall to the live action to the CG built things that were composited, layered, and compressed in QuickTime. In fact, the compression that you're actually seeing here on some of the movies is QuickTime based, but it's for the CD-ROM. DVD version will allow us to improve that even more. It's kind of a little 60s flashback there or something, I don't know. I've got to say at this point, you know, we started over 10 years ago building our worlds using Macs, using HyperCard, black and white world called the Manhole. And it's, of all the crazy things, we built that world on 5 floppy disks that later will be able to be combined onto a CD-ROM. Well, it's a little bit of deja vu now at this point to be combining 5 Riven CDs onto one DVD. At this point, I'm going to stop the exploration. I decided I better leave some for you guys to explore if you haven't already. Let me end by saying that we're excited about the tools we get from Apple and from the people who support Apple. It's what's kept us in business. As long as we get those tools, we'll continue to provide you bigger, better, more immersive worlds to make you much less productive. Thank you.
Thank you, Rand. It's a little like the journey we've been on the last 6 months. So, we have been working a lot with our developers, and we're going to do even more the coming quarter and every quarter thereafter. We went out and we just made a very short video of some of these developers, and I'd just like to show it to you now for those who give you a feeling for the other 50 products that are being announced today out there.
Apple and Broderbund together. Gambate!
You won't find a product like this on Windows.
You want software for the Mac? We've got it.
The Mac kicks ass!
100,000 registered developers.
We've never left.
#1 selling game for the Macintosh. Thank you, Apple.
Apple is back, and Connectix is right there with them.
Go Apple, we're behind you.
These things are selling like hotcakes.
First and best on Macintosh.
Apple dominates education.
Microsoft Office 98 for the Macintosh.
Real player for Macintosh. Go!
Welcome. You've got mail.
Statistics for everyone.
Ah, upgrade.
Dozens of Adobe products for the Macintosh.
Raider Rabbits with you all the way.
The #1 educational product of all time.
Here's looking to another 10 great years together.
Insanely great software for an insanely great computer.
Only available on Macintosh.
Microsoft has innovated on the Macintosh from the beginning, and there's a lot more to come.
So we've been really hard at work over the last 6 months. The whole Apple team has just performed wonderfully. And I really appreciate the opportunity to give you some updates today. There's a lot of great stuff being introduced at the show. So thank you very much. I forgot something. There's one last thing I got to tell you. I'm really pleased to report something today. We're going to officially report our financial results on January 14th. We had our finance team working over the holidays, and I really want to thank them for that, to allow me to report this to you today. Every group at Apple has been burning the midnight oil over the last 6 months. The product groups, hardware and software, have been doing great. Our sales and marketing groups all around the world, our manufacturing, our distribution, and we're starting to really see the results. I hope you saw some here today. But when it all comes together, it's really nice. And it's all starting to come together for Apple. Maybe after. Thanks. So, it's all come together for us in our fiscal Q1, which just ended. We had revenues of $1.575 billion. An Apple computer last quarter made a $45 million profit. So, words cannot express how proud I am of the team at Apple. I think they've done an incredibly great job, and a lot of our partners out there are really supporting us. And I can tell you, I think for sure, that Apple is coming back. Now, we are in right now Apple's fiscal second quarter, which is historically, for some reason, the last few years been the worst quarter of Apple's fiscal year. I'm not sure why. So who knows what's going to happen this quarter, but we're going to be burning the midnight oil again, and we're going to work our best to deliver a result you'll be proud of us for again. So thank you very much. We really appreciate your coming. Have a great show.